first met Joe in the early 90s, I think it must have been, a long time ago, at Survivors Poetry. And just remember him being very, very warm, very strong personality. You wouldn't forget him. I was like, wow, I've just met somebody of substance. Joe Bidder has kind of, I think he's just made people see what's possible. He's very much enabled disabled people, people who've been through the mental health system, people who before often didn't have a voice or felt they were very hidden, suddenly given them much more of a voice and given them, I suppose, hope, and also enabled society at large to take note of those voices, whether they're talking about their individual struggles or anything they like, to just celebrate being in the world, being there, having talent, and also I think seeing the link between having maybe struggled and gone through some form of suffering and creativity. And I think that's really important.
Poetry is about truth. Poetry comes from a strange place. It comes from the heart and soul of the world. My belief is that everyone has a bit of poetry in their head. They learned it as children. Rhymes are really poems, nursery rhymes. And I think everyone grew up hearing poetry as babies. We heard the rhythm. We went to sleep with them.
Poetry is important to the world because it's a condensed form of expression that often stays with you, long after the adverts or the news articles. It stays in your heart because often poetry starts with a heartbeat. Original poetry was written, or was not written. Original poetry was spoken aloud, and it was about communication. It was about community. And I think that sense of community is very important. So a single poem can really reach out to thousands of people and actually reach not just their intellect, but their emotions.
And survivors' poetry, we couldn't have survivors because we lived through all this tragedy. What other people thought was tragedy, we thought was blessing.
The word survivor is used in many different contexts. I had never heard the word survivor around people who'd been through the mental health systems until about 1985. And when I found out how that had come about, I thought, I'm in. That's who I am. I survived the abuses of a system that still needs overhauling if we're looking at mental health services in this country.
Survivors Poetry is an organisation which was set up to support survivors of the mental health system, people who'd been incarcerated almost always against their will in some kind of psychiatric establishment and have come out the other side, and to give them a voice, a platform, a place where they can communicate with others and share stories and also sort of share positivity, share some of the wonderful things that have happened in their lives as well.
The first Survivors Poetry event I went to, I thought was magical, was spellbinding really. There was a series of great poets in the room and some brilliant work.
Everybody was there, was so glad to be there and to be around their friends and to communicate. And there was a sense of celebration at every Survivors Poetry night, whether I was a member of the audience or performing on stage myself. It always felt special, as if they hadn't taken it for granted.
An individual poet gave them the chance to realize they weren't alone. I'm part of a group of other poets. And that gave them the feeling of power. If they can do it, why not me? We set up Dizzy Price, my son Sean, and myself, because we wanted to transform the spoken word into writing and to write a book. A book that will go into libraries all over the world. We present the work of disabled people and survivors of mental health.
Is precisely about sharing the resources in people whose voices would not be centre stage as a rule. Those excluded voices from a political periphery, from our community's margins, are still neglected, still ignored, still the last on the public agenda in terms of social inclusion. It is absolutely crucial that a press like Dizzy Press is around to pull those voices in.
It's infinitely important for everybody to have a voice, and some of those voices are really quiet, and some of those voices are saying things that haven't been said in society before. So it's of paramount importance that all voices are given a platform, a safe space in which they can be heard, and also a celebratory space. Because the sense of saying safe space implies that there isn't excitement, and there's incredible, tremendous amount of excitement around that sense of newness, that these voices are new voices, they're coming up, they're talking about things that maybe were previously taboo. Mental health still is a taboo, and it's really important to talk about it, to reach out, to change people's minds and perspectives and openness and compassion and empathy, and in doing that, change the world.
I want a playing field that acknowledges equal respect, but actually the glorious diversity of who we are as human beings and human voices. Wouldn't it be bloody boring if we spent the rest of our lives just reading Shakespeare? I just love the idea of a plethora of voices with so many different physicalities, so many different cultural origins, and so many different ways of thinking. Anything less than that, to me, is disabling our possibilities as human beings. And let's not do that.
I know many disabled people with all kinds of problems. They still exist. We should proud. Disabled people are proud of that background. They're not victims. They are artists. We do it because we're artists and we want to promote art.